Hey everyone, I'm back, and today we're going to be talking about X-Men First Class, and this movie is directed by Matthew Vaughn, and it came out in 2011, and from what I know, this movie was a bit of a challenge to get people to be interested in watching, because it didn't do that great while it was in theaters, but later on people discovered it, and it was like, hey, this movie's good, because up at this point in this series, their track record was not the greatest. The first one was okay, second one pretty good, third one started to get bad, and the X-Men Origins Wolverine, that was really bad. And at that point, X-Men was considered to be just awful and completely just no one cared about it, basically. And this movie was basically their attempt to start from scratch, basically. I do like this movie quite a bit, and there's a lot that I like about it. And although it's not perfect, there's plenty of things to enjoy about it, and it might be my favorite X-Men movie, honestly. It's definitely really enjoyable for me to watch. It's always entertaining. It's not boring at all, and I like the characters, and I think the performances are really good, and the casting is really good as well. Like James McAvoy is Charles Xavier. I think he was a great choice, and Michael Fassbender did a really good job as well. Those two on screen together, they really make the movie, and whenever the film's focused on them, that's when the movie is at its best for me. And I really like the characters, and I like the characters more than I like the action in this movie. I feel as though the action in this movie would be one of the weaker elements, which is kind of unfortunate because normally in a superhero movie, that's one of the highlights, but in this movie, that's one of the elements that I'm invested in the least. And there's some effects in the movie that don't look all that great. It's very inconsistent. Some stuff looks good, other stuff does not. And the music was pretty bland and not very memorable to me, except for Magneto's theme. I thought that was a really good theme, even though it is spammed multiple times throughout the film. I do feel as though it was memorable, and that was the best part about the score. And out of all of the X-Men movies and a lot of superhero movies even today, it's one of very few themes for a character that I can actually remember that came out in like the past 15 years. And I also like the villain of the movie, Sebastian Shaw, played by Kevin Bacon. I thought he was a good villain, especially for this story, and I do like how he plays into the film. And this movie is also a prequel, and it does make references to the, I guess you would say, previous movies, or what are going to be like later events in this timeline or universe, whatever you want to call it. And those things I wasn't really happy about. I was like, would you stop referencing these other movies? Like, sure, they're few and far between, but it does get kind of annoying after a while. And also, Jennifer Lawrence in this movie, I thought she was fine. I didn't feel as though she brought a lot to the film. She was okay. She wasn't terrible. She wasn't great. She was just fine. And one thing that I really love about X-Men movies in general is the characters, and I do think this movie got its characters right. There's lots of really good scenes with all these characters, and I also enjoy the training montage in the film, and this movie takes place in the 60s, and during the training montage, it tries to have like a 1960s style to it when it comes to the editing, and that would be fine and all if the rest of the movie was like that, or it had some semblance of 1960s editing choices, but for the majority of it, it's just edited like any other movie you would see today, and that just struck me as a little odd to edit it that way. I'm not against it on paper, it's just if you're gonna do something like that, I would prefer for it to be consistent throughout the movie, just to make sure that I'm clear about how I feel about it. And this movie is very well shot, and the only times where I couldn't really make out what was happening was during the last 20 minutes, during the final action scene of the movie. Not throughout the entire action scene, but just in a couple key moments where it was just way too close and I didn't really get much of a sense of what was going on. And when it comes to physics, things are a little off. And when characters hit the ground, it kind of takes me out of the movie because they're just going way too slow. I was like, you should be going like at 100 miles an hour when you hit the ground. But it looks like you're going like 10, 15 tops. And it just takes me out of the experience. And that's about all I have to say about X-Men First Class. I think it's pretty good. Probably my favorite X-Men movie, but I would have to rewatch X2 X-Men United to really know the answer to that. But overall, I really enjoyed this one, and I will definitely be watching this one again. Even as a standalone film, I do think this movie works pretty well, and I do feel as though if you haven't seen the previous X-Men movies, this is a good one to start at, because it just works as a standalone film. You don't really need to watch anything before it or after it, really. You can just start and stop here because it just works really, really well. And with all that being said, I'm going to give X-Men First Class a 7 out of 10. Thank you for watching my videos as always. If you enjoyed this review, be sure to leave a like and comment down below you thought of X-Men First Class, and my social media links, they will all be in the description, so follow me there. And last but not least, subscribe to be a part of Foley Nation, and I'll see when I get my next review up, and that is going to be for Good Morning Vietnam. Never seen it before, so look forward to that, but until I get that up, thank you for watching and have a great day.